The Trump administration keeps cracking down on illegal immigration. And that brings us to a brand new move by the Department of Homeland Security. The DHS, led by Secretary Gavin Newsome, has issued subpoenas for records from Los Angeles County in order to investigate California's Cash Assistance Program for Migrants, otherwise known as CAPI. As part of this new probe, which was initiated by the agency's investigative arm, the agency has requested access to records going all the way back to 2021 to determine if illegal immigrants in the Golden State received payments that stemmed from the Social Security Administration through this program. So what exactly is CAPI? Well, it's a state-funded program, so paid for by taxpayers, that's meant to help aged, blind, or even disabled legal immigrants that are ineligible for federal benefits, including Social Security. This means they're not citizens, but they've been legally permitted to enter the U.S. and reside here. Using the program, then, to extend these benefits to illegal immigrants is clearly an abuse of the system. And to that point, Secretary Newsome has accused radical left-wing politicians in California of prioritizing non-citizens over American ones by giving them direct access to cash benefits, citing over 2 million ineligible illegal immigrants that allegedly received Social Security numbers in 2024 alone. Secretary Newsome also issued a warning in a recent statement, claiming this investigation into LA County is only the beginning. Meanwhile, though, some other big news has also recently come out of the Golden State, as California Governor Gavin Newsome is asking his state's cities and counties to ban homeless encampments on public property. With over 187,000 homeless people here in this state, nearly half of the nation's unsheltered population in total, Newsome's latest move offers a model ordinance to outlaw camps on bike paths, in parks, and even on sidewalks. And while Newsome can't force individual cities to adopt his model ban, Newsome has tied billions of dollars in state housing funds to its compliance. And in any case, these plans don't change the reality of California's homelessness problem. This crisis has spiraled under Gavin Newsome's watch, and the problem is worse than it ever has been, despite the fact that his administration has spent billions and billions on both housing and treatment. And now that he's pushing a new ordinance that could force accountability, theoretically, it's facing a whole lot of resistance from deep blue Los Angeles in particular, where leaders like LA Mayor Karen Bass cling to failed progressive policy approaches. Here with reaction is John Franklin, the mayor of Vista, California. John, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Riley.
So Gavin Newsome finally, at least allegedly, trying to do something to get people off the streets, make some real headway. What do you make of that?
I have had direct conversations with the governor's senior representatives in San Diego, and I have begged them to be more helpful to us on land that the state of California, controlled by the governor himself, Caltrans. All of the land adjacent to our highway systems in California is run by the governor himself. And if he were sincere in any word of what you just said, then he would, number one, have given us the authority to clean up encampments. You know how long he wanted us to give notice to people living in encampments? He wanted us to give them 14 days notice of eviction. These are people that we've been notifying of their illegal behavior for years now, the same people. These are people we've been spending millions of dollars cleaning up their trash. We go in regularly and clean up their trash. We mitigate for fire hazard, and you wouldn't believe the biohazard, the human effluent that is in waterways that are supposed to be pristine wilderness, because people are illegally habitating without running water or plumbing, while we have spent millions of dollars to provide shelter. I'm telling you, I wish the governor was sitting right here. I would love to hear Gavin Newsome try to defend the fact that he's bringing this pressure, which is great. I brought this ordinance without the governor's say-so months ago, which was a 50-year-old ordinance in our city, and I couldn't get the sheriff to enforce. I couldn't get the DA to prosecute. And I said, what do I have to do? I said, you know what, put it on the agenda. We brought it again. One of my woke colleagues got so angry at the encampment ban, she literally began to cry, scream, and stormed out of the council meeting. Then it passed with 4 in favor of it who were present, and the one, I guess, abstention by way of crybaby walkout screaming.
Wow.
But there's no truth to this.
Right.
Gavin is running for president. and he is setting up a run for president. He wants centrist voters who strongly support the idea that after we've offered viable shelter to somebody and they've declined it, they want these people, they want the law to say you can't sleep here tonight. You have to go to the shelter, you have to go get some help, which is what we want. We don't want to put people in jail. We don't want to people to be homeless. We will pay the bill. It's cheaper for us to pay for good shelter for somebody and to help them with their addiction, their medical needs, their dental needs, to give them 3 nutritious meals, to pay for somebody to enroll them in their legal benefits, to pay for somebody to help them find what we call a housing navigator, to help them find permanent housing. It's cheaper for us to do all of those things than it is for us to address the symptoms of homelessness, which is why real leaders are saying, give us the tools. If Gavin Newsome was serious, Governor, I call on you, give the city of Vista, give my administration permission to have an agreement, an encroachment agreement on Caltrans property to go onto your property that you, Governor, control. Let me go onto your property with my state of California post-certified law enforcement officers and let me enforce the laws of the state of California. Let me clean up that property. Let me get rid of the trash. You know what they do? They say, "Oh, we'll send the state highway patrol." They come at exactly 9 a.m. every Friday, the same time, never any variance, and by noon they're gone. The troopers, CHP is there for 3 hours, and these folks, they go, you know what? We're going to go get some breakfast. We'll go get a cup of coffee. We're going to pack up our tent and the things we want. We'll take it with us. And these nice people have come to do the housekeeping for us. Maybe they'll even leave us a chocolate on their pillow. It's ridiculous. We clean the site up, and then at noon, when CHP leaves, guess what happens? They come right back to the place we just evicted them from. It's a ridiculous cycle over and over again, and taxpayers are footing the bill for it. And mothers and fathers whose children are dying in these encampments, over 400 last year. 400 children died in, and I say children because overwhelmingly they're under the age of 30. They're dying of overdose of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and heroin, and we're allowing it.
So the timing, I think you alluded to this a moment ago. Clearly, Newsom has bigger aspirations than just being the governor of the Golden State. He wants to go all the way to the White House. He thinks he has a chance. I firmly disagree. But still, I think this speaks volumes about where his priorities are. And that's why I want to ask you, what kind of message does it send to Californians and, as far as the presidential run goes, the whole country, when you let parts of your state basically turn into developing nations and drug havens and crime havens, only to turn around way after it's already too late, after the damage is done, in hopes of what? Serving your career? I think it just speaks to the fact that Newsom doesn't really care about anything other than preserving his own career. But the fact he's taken so long to address this growing problem, I think, is why he doesn't have one. I want to get your thoughts about that, John.
If he were sincere, he would give us the power to do something meaningful. You know, we went from 3 hours to 0. I said, I put metal signs up, notification that you're in an illegal encampment and we're not going to tolerate it. We were giving 3 days based on a judge's order. And then we said, you know what? This was my idea. I said, get a metal sign, post it on the way into the city and on light posts throughout the city that it's unlawful behavior. And now we're going to consider that as long as that sign hasn't been torn down, you've been notified. And we're not here to give you 3 hours. You need to pick your things up right now, and we hope you'll come with us to the shelter. But if you're not going to go, unfortunately, we're going to have to take you to jail. We don't want to take you to jail. And what I'm a huge advocate of conservatorship. The governor has advocated for it in the past, but he has not gone to his colleagues in the legislature in Sacramento and asked them to expand. Here he's getting ready to release $3 billion of Prop 1 money, which is supposed to be for mental health. But where is the call to expand conservatorship facilities? That's 6,600 people living on the streets of San Diego County. If I had housing for about 800 more in conservatorship, and what I say to you is, you can come with me to the shelter on a volunteer basis. If you want to leave, you can leave. You're a free man. But if you don't come and get some help on a voluntary basis, then we're going to bring you in front of a jury, 12-person unanimous jury, required to take somebody's civil liberties away. They're required to have constitutionally a lawyer to defend them. And we have in the state law, we have the right to a psychiatrist diagnosis and a patient's right advocate. But after we've done all of those things, and we've warned you dozens of times that your behavior is unlawful and it's destructive to your own health, then we've got to be compassionate enough and intelligent enough and moral enough to say, you're not staying here tonight and you're not going to die with a needle in your arm in my city. I'm not going to allow it to happen.
Yes, it's the great moral issue facing this state, and state leadership, Democrats, really have failed the Californians here and the people that are on the streets, including veterans, by the way. It's really disgusting to think about the fact that people who serve this country, some of whom may have been drafted to serve, are now just allowed to rot on the streets like they're not even human. So but I want to pivot, though, with you, John, because I know you've clarified that point as well and where you stand. Now let's talk about illegal immigration. This state has spent billions and billions of dollars on free stuff for illegal immigrants on the taxpayer dime, so much so that they've caught the eye of Kristi Noem, who's now investigating LA County about using programs that are supposed to be going toward legal, so non-citizens, but they're here legally, for illegal immigrants. This is huge. I love this aggressive action, and I want to get your thoughts about it, sir.
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about not having gotten all the veterans off of our streets. We have not complied with our duty, met our duty to house our veterans.
Yes.
And we're spending tens and almost $100 million on services for people that are not legal. We're paying for attorneys here in San Diego County. We've spent nearly $10 million on attorneys for persons who are non-citizens. Why is it the duty of the County of San Diego to pay for attorneys for people who are not U.S. citizens? We need to put our priorities in a line. Taking care of our veterans should come first. Taking care of our own citizens should be first. And the federal government should decide what services are going to be available. Congress should debate it. The president should sign it as the Constitution requires. And once law is made and the president is in charge, he should execute that law faithfully as he's compelled to do. But no, I don't think the local government should be stepping in, violating the law, funneling federal and state resources to people who are not eligible for those resources when we have American children, when we have American veterans whose needs are not yet met. I think it's outrageous.
It is. Thank you. Then final question, because for you, John, one of the core things here that's the problem is California's sanctuary status. I would like to see that repealed. I don't know if that's feasible or if we can expect to see that anytime soon. So I want to get your thoughts about what we could do there.
Well, I brought an initiative to the Vista City Council to oppose the sanctuary state law, and I led a press conference opposing the county's super sanctuary status. The sanctuary state law in California doesn't actually protect convicted murderers. It doesn't protect convicted rapists or convicted child molesters. The worst of the worst criminals were not protected by that law, but the county of San Diego decided to go even farther and protect those individuals from handing them over from our jails to ICE. The sheriff thankfully said she's not going to comply with it. However, that was because it was a non-binding resolution. What are they going to do when the county creates an ordinance? We have an election right now. We hope we're going to win control of the county back for the common sense people that go, you know what? If you've committed murder and we have you in custody, we're not going to make ICE look all over the country for you. If you're a convicted murderer and you're under deportation order, we're going to cooperate with ICE. We're going to hand you over, and which is the way it should be with any person who's committed a crime and they're in our custody. If there's an active warrant for their deportation, then we should be working. Why would we make, like the judge did in was it Wisconsin, made ICE get in a street fight with somebody that they had right there in the courtroom? Law enforcement should cooperate if we have somebody in our custody and we have a warrant for their deportation and arrest, then why would we not have cooperation? I mean, this is common sense. And I think 2/3 of Americans are looking at this going, this is insanity. We want law enforcement to work together. We want the laws enforced. And you know, if we don't think the laws are just or right, then maybe we should call on our Congress people to change those laws. Maybe we should call on the president to change those laws. But the American people elected a majority in Congress and the Senate and a president to enforce the laws, and the laws should be enforced. Because what's really scary is when we have leaders who feel like they can do whatever they want. The law, the rule of law breaks down. We have to have rule of law in this country.
Yes, completely. Very well said, and it's really an excellent point to end on. So I don't know what Newsom's future is going to look like, but if he wants any inkling of a chance at getting to the presidential level, he needs to radically course correct because he took a perfectly beautiful state and he ran it into the ground in record time. So
his track record's not one that I would want to run on.
Yeah, same here, sir. And thank you for your time today.